first thing that you need to do when you're starting a project like this is to stabilize the area. So I will be stitching in the ditch along the interior part so that we can place our line pattern in the star. I have the lights turned off on my APQS Freddy so you could see just how beautiful this quilt is. I'm very excited about quilting it. We are going to use line pattern with our classic Intelliquilter system, which is on our APQS Freddy. You see the laser light shining down below here. We're going to use the laser light and the presentation clicker to reduce the workload. It's going to be so much fun to quilt this quilt. We're at the main menu. We are going to design sew a quilt. We are starting new, and we are going to do a line pattern. I'm going to go into my catalog and go to geometrics, and I'm going to choose the arc, and I'm going to say continue. Now as I move the machine, I'm going to give sample points to Intelliquilter so we will know where these arcs are going to stitch out. And I'm going to slow down my motor speed because I like to go a little bit slower when I am using my line pattern. So the default height is 2 inches, and I know that that would be way too big for the small diamond shapes that I want to put the continuous curves in. So I'm going to touch height. I'm going to the keypad that is on the ribbon. I'm going to put in 0.25, enter. Now when my curves are created, they are going to have a curve of 1/4 inch, and that's what I like to do on this scale of quilting. We're going to create sampling points so that Intelliquilter knows where we want to stitch out these continuous curves. So I have a large diamond, right? Let's see, it goes here to here. And it almost becomes a game to see how far you can go before you have to stop and tie your threads. So my idea here is to go as far as I can go. And when I bump into the wall, I'm going to travel along the wall and travel across the next part. So this is how I would mark your line pattern. So I'm going to just move along and get my presentation clicker and let Intelliquilter know where I want these continuous curves to be. So I'm going to start in this intersection right here. I'm going to go all the way to the right and travel back. So try not to put my hands in the way of the camera. You have to look up and make sure that you are getting the results you want on the screen. Occasionally you could flip one, and when it's time to stitch it out, you wouldn't want it to go in a direction you weren't planning for. So now I'm coming up, I'm going back across. Now I want to catch everything that I can catch as I travel. So I'm here, I'm going to go to the outer part, make sure I can see it. Disadvantage of having lights on for cameras doesn't mean that I can see it as well, but I think it's going to be beautiful. Let's just keep going along, marking continuous curves. Mark. You hear the Intelliquilter beeping? That's because I am putting in these marks for Intelliquilter. And now I'm going to travel up to the next row. Looking very carefully because the blues were blending there. Travel this way. Now this is something good for you to see. When I'm traveling back to the right, it dipped down, and I had been doing them up, so I'm going to flip that, and now it's above the seam. I'm going to go out to meet that intersection, back down, and I'll continue marking these continuous curves. travel back across that to catch all of it in that. That's pretty good. I did see a couple places I would have made a different decision. And then I can come down to the center, but I don't want to stop in that center, so I'm going to choose to stop there. I'm going to say finished. So this is the continuous curve design. So I have a place here that I'm going to need to catch, and I also have a place to finish in the center of the star. Now if you look down at the star, I want to be careful that I don't leave any little gaps in that center, because that's a real visual area. Your eye will be naturally drawn to the center of that star. I like that. Okay, it's time to sew the quilt. Select the first pattern to quilt. Because that is a line pattern, it's one continuous design in this diamond shape. So I think that's really, really going to be beautiful. So I'm going to say continue, and I'm going to watch this in preview.